Good morning. Welcome back to the sanctuary. Yay. I'm going to start us this morning with a little music. This comes from a German gold medalist from the Olympics. And she's at a press conference, and they've asked her what happened after she fell while she was competing in the Olympics. And this is her response.
You ever used to hear you sing in the gospel choir?
Yes.
For what song?
Oh, I killed it. My bad.
I was going to your head tonight.
After falling, I went back to my seat and I sang a song. It means I almost let go. It goes like this. I almost let go. I was quite at the edge of a breakthrough, couldn't see it. The devil really had me, but Jesus came and grabbed me. He held me close, so I wouldn't let go. God's mercy kept me, so I wouldn't let go. So I'm here today because God kept me. I'm alive today only because of His grace. Oh, He kept me. God kept me. God's mercies kept me. So I would let go. That was the song that I was just singing.
I love that because that's at a press conference for the Olympics, and who would imagine someone to be singing and singing so beautifully and sharing her faith, what she believes, how she approaches life, and how she integrated and utilized it. Fireworks are happening right here. She's sharing how her faith touched her own life, how it mattered in her life, and how she was utilizing on a day-to-day, right here in this moment kind of event. So thank y'all for being here. Thank you for joining us on one of our last days in this building that's been such a beautiful home and place for us here in Unity of Little Rock. Because we come together here, and I hope that we remember that we come together, there's a place that we can touch our lives as well as the lives of others, that we can use truth principles, those practical, applicable principles that can make a difference in our life, to help us feel more at ease, more comfort, but more awareness of the truth of who we are. And because you come here and bring your presence here, you bring that awareness however you bring it, because you bring it uniquely. Just like her singing her song. She, I would say that makes her a rather unique Olympian, don't you think? So thank y'all for being here. And this morning, I'm going to take you through a few things because I think that it's important. Why, oh why? Y'all talk among yourselves. Oh, come on. This is, oh, it's clicking. It's thinking about it. This is a birthday month. The co-founders of the Unity Movement, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, Myrtle's birthday was on August 6th, and Charles' birthday is coming up on August 22nd. So this is a birth celebration month. And I would say it's a birth celebration for us here at Unity. Because even though we're letting go of something and moving out of what has been for us, we're moving into something new. We're birthing something new. We're bringing into life a new experience, a new way of being. And I'm going to have to stand over here to get this boy to be happy for us. Oh, wait, look at that. Look at that. Now it decides to work. Who talked to it and made it work this morning? Thank you. Appreciate that. Also tomorrow is World Humanitarian Day. This is in recognition that there are civilians all over the world that live in conflict areas, and that they need to be remembered, they need to be served, and that there are people that will serve them. There are humanitarians in the world serving them. Ram Dass tells us that we're not helping out because it's me needing to tend to you. We're helping out because it's us. If one of us needs help, if one of our arms gets caught in a door, naturally we use the other of our arms to set it free. Jeannie. Yes, you, Jeannie. Come on down. Yes, you need a mic. I'm having Jeannie lead us in our, immediately go into our daily word. And actually, this is not today's daily word. This is tomorrow's daily word. But I thought it was so appropriate for where we're at and who we are as a community and what's unfolding for us. So please, go ahead, Jeannie.
Oh, first of all, doesn't it feel great? And the sunshine coming through. It's a beautiful day. And does anybody want a Christmas tree? that is the most beautiful tree. Yeah, man, it's just a little bit big. Today's daily word. Well, at first, Russ didn't have it on here, and I looked it up. It's world peace, but it also talks about the high watch. Peace. I hold the high watch and envision peace growing throughout the world. When I learn of difficulties in the world, I hold the high watch. I visualize citizens, leaders, and countries of the world enfolded in divine love and working together toward peace. I can also put feet on my prayers and join a cause meaningful to me that supports peace. Change often occurs through the efforts of like-minded people who want to make a difference. We are those people. I am inspired by these special folks and consider which of my talents I could share. Through it all, I pray. Prayer has no limits and knows no geographic or cultural boundaries. It reaches hearts and minds everywhere. I hold the high watch for the people of the world, understanding I can and do make a difference. And let's say together, I hold the high watch and envision peace growing throughout the world.
Yeah, thank you, Jeannie. Would you like to come forward? It's fun being up here because we're not used to being, Russ isn't used to being up here. So everything seems so out of the ordinary and out of place and out of time, and I'm lost and befuddled while I'm up here. So thank you. So let's start here and have a recognition, because we talked about the high watch and envisioning that peace in the world, and that we light a Christ candle because we're lighting and remembering that light that is us, that divine nature, that Christ nature that within us shines forth. And as we shine it forth into the world, we're calling out and helping remind the world of that light as well. We're hoping envision for the world a world that remembers that we're all divine beings. And that light isn't just in me, isn't in just you, it's in all of us. We are all that light, that divine self. And with that, would you lead us in our opening statement, please?
Yeah, so please join with me. Do we get turned on?
On the interim, there you go. Join with me and sing our opening statement together, all right? There's only one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe. God, the good, the omnipotent.
Thank you. Reverend Colleen, that's right, I called on you. Do you have a prayer in you this morning? Do you think you could come up with one? You hadn't prayed but a couple times in your life, have you? This is Reverend Colleen, for those of you that don't know. She is the Reverend Mother of this community, that is for sure.
Do I look old enough to be that? Thank you. 85 end of June.
Yeah.
85.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation, folks. I'm going to invite you to place your hands in front of your laps, on your legs if you'd like, open. And view your palms. Just view your palms, eyes open for a moment. And give thanks for the power that we have to make a difference, first in our own lives, and then in the lives of others. Beloved Father, Mother, God, we are reminded this moment that our only mission is to walk each other home. We know that truth deeply in our hearts and our souls. And in this moment, as we close our eyes, if you haven't already, image every individual in this church, in other churches, wherever, who's been a part of your tapestry of life, supporting you, loving you, coaching you onward. And beyond that, picture, recognize that God Almighty breathed the life of breath in you, moment by moment, and is indeed blessing you, loving you, coaching you onward. And so we give thanks with enormous gratitude for the awakening that we've each had, for the enlightenment. And I give thanks for unity and all it's meant to me. It gave me back my dignity. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Father, Mother, God. In and through the name, the power, the way, the will, and the work of Jesus the Christ, our way shower, elder brother, and our teacher. Thank you, amen, and amen.
And amen. Thank you. If you like that prayer, or you don't think too much about prayer, I'm going to invite that there's an opportunity for you to benefit, to receive from prayer. Right up here we have our prayer box. If you want to put your prayer, write it right there on a piece of paper and put it in there. This community holds and prays over that for 30 days before we send it on to Silent Unity, who they in turn, if ever you get the chance to go to Unity Village in the Kansas City area, go to Silent Village and see where there's someone sitting 24/7, 365, and been doing that since the beginning of time. I can't even remember how many years that's been now. But praying over with those prayer requests that you make right here in this community, But also if you call Silent Unity, there's a phone number. You can also text them in this world and connect with them. They'll pray with you. No obligation. Nobody's trying to get you to do anything other than be with you and pray with you. So if you haven't done that before, try that. Call them up. I love that. I called up recently and I got laughed at. And I loved it because he laughed at me because I asked him to pray with me. And he was laughing, but you called me for me to pray with you. And he just found it amusing that I asked him to pray with me. Whatever was funny about that for him. But anyway, it made me laugh. And the prayer was right on point for what I needed, as well as he gave me an affirmation to carry through the day. So his humor actually was part of the uplifting of the prayer. So I invite you to call Silent Unity. Let's do a little more music here. Maybe not, maybe not. There we go.
For reminding us.
That song when she talks about thank you. And she's thanking for some of the things that most of us would say, I don't want to be thanking for that. That doesn't sound like that's something good for us. We had a couple people come to our moving sale yesterday that hadn't been here in a while. And they were sad about what's taking place in this community. And I could feel their tears and their grief. And it was absolutely appropriate for them to feel sadness and grief in this process of us leaving the building. And it's okay to be excited. It's okay to recognize that as one thing ends, another door opens, right? As the saying goes, we're closing a door on just one process, one step, one little aspect of the life of Unity of Little Rock. And we're opening the door for something else. And this morning, what I'm going to talk about in some ways is really about that process in which we're moving into and moving through, and what it means to be in a spiritual community. And I'm going to share from that point of view that I'm talking about you, but I'm also talking about this community. And I'll talk about this community, and I'm also talking about you. They're not separate. And that whatever we do as individuals and we bring it into these walls, figuratively or literally, walls of a community, that we shape and touch this community. And that as we do that as a community, we also shape and touch the lives of the people that are part of this community, that make up this community. Y'all do know there would not be a community if you were not here. It wouldn't matter whether we had a building or not. If you weren't here, there's no community. Because you're the community, not this building, not the walls. You are the community. So with that said, anybody in here remember Andre Baudouin? Yeah, there's a few of you do. Some of the others will have not met. Yes, will not have met Andre. Okay? Yes, in the wheelchair. He was in a wheelchair. Okay, still in a wheelchair. Had a conversation, a long conversation with Andre. Hadn't spoken to him this year. And one, I asked him what we could do as a community for him, and he said, I would just love to hear from some people. Yeah. If somebody would just call me or email me. And anything else other than just a little connection. So I invite you, those that do know Andre, reach out to him and just say, hey. Okay. Those that don't know him, I'll give you his email address. You can reach out to him and say hey too. That'd throw him a little twist. Hey, I got friends I didn't even know I had. But being with Andre reminded years ago, Andre and I drove to Chicago every month for 3 days and did a sacred activism training with Andrew Harvey. And I was thinking about that that long drive up there, all that time we spent together, the fact that one time I came back and I hit one of those orange work area construction zone barrels and knocked his mirror clean off his car. Okay? And he was very kind about me destroying part of his car. So I had lots of memories about that. But it may also make me think about this program about sacred activism. Because it's the idea that there's something for all of us to do in this world. And we want to do it from a place of our divine nature, of our Christ nature, of the light that shines within us. That's the sacred side of it. But as I was thinking about that, I read something. And this comes from the People of African Descent New Thought Group. And they define sacred activism in part as a call to practical and positive action in the world and in our communities that propels individuals beyond contemplation and inspires them to translate their spiritual convictions and principles into meaningful, impactful contributions to society as a whole and to our communities. And then they went on to say that successful sacred activism doesn't need to be defined by numbers, by visibility, by size of impact. It can be as meaningful as creating a space where those who inhabit it feel safe and empowered to be themselves. For those that were here recently as part of our future planning, what did y'all convey as a group on a regular basis about being in a space that was safe, that you come and could be part of your, part of your own ability to be who you want to be in that space. Show up as you are in that space. And you said things like a place to land, to be seen, to be accepted, etc. But to me, that was all about creating a place where safety happens and where you can be at home here. I came, we've been shredding checks, you know, the old checks, just shredding all kinds of old documents. And I found from, 1994, the check that was written to the first workshop presenter that I came to in this building, okay, back in the 90s. It was Willard Fuller, and Willard, the ministers at the time didn't particularly care for Willard, I guess is the best way to say that, because he was very traditional in how he talked about Christianity, and they were expecting someone else. But for me, he was that perfect bridge, because I'd come out of this background of Southern Baptist and Pentecostal, but had all these thoughts and beliefs and thought I was the only human being on the planet that thought those things, right? Because we didn't have internet in those days, so I couldn't go Google it, so I thought I'd just the odd bird out. Well, Willard Fuller was great at talking about things from that traditional Christian and then bridging it over into truth principles that we talk about in unity. And it was the reason I came back here. But he created a place that was safe for me, safe to have those thoughts, to think those things, to ask those questions that in other communities I've been in, you don't think, you don't ask, right? But we do it here. So Willard was actually a fond memory for me. And some of you have heard me tell other stories. If you go lunch today, I'll tell you some things that happened in those workshops that I still carry today. And I'm happy to share that with you. But part of being in a community is that you don't just show up on Sundays. You don't just have coffee with people. Those are wonderful parts and aspects of community, but that isn't what all community is about. There's a greater fullness and depth of community. And that same experience and depth that we have in community is the same experience and depth that most of us want in our own lives, especially if we want changes in our lives. If you want something to be a little different, I'd like to have a little more abundance, prosperity. I'd like to have a little more love. I'd like to have a little more peace and ease. Whatever it is that you want, the principles that we work with unity help us align with that, because we're aligning with the truth of who we are. And as we bring that forth into the world, we start to be able to see through those eyes and then act with those hands. And the world changes for us. Now, the question I love to ask is, what really changed? You did, right? You're the one that changed. And now when you step into the world, you interact with the world differently. You see the world differently. And not always, but many times, the world responds differently to you. So I'm going to share with you today something that's prevalent when we do our small groups that we call spirit groups. And we talk about in that the 5 C's. The 5 C's are 5 different disciplines that any community wants to have as part of the community, but any individual would want to have part of your life, part of who you are. So I'm going to begin with these 5 C's. The first one is communion. And communion isn't the little wafer and the little small cup of wine. Okay, we're not talking about the ritual of communion. We're talking about coming together and recognizing your own divine nature, the divinity within you, and the practices that you do that bring those forth. For those of you that have heard me before, what practices do I keep talking about all the time to help bring that forth? Come on, what are those? What are that?
Prayer and meditation.
Prayer and meditation. Only one of you remembers? That's why I keep saying it, right? But this communion is for you to remember. But in a community, how does communion look? Anybody bold? Think you'd not jump? Not going to go there. Well, that's to me, I would say that's part of the practice and part of the result of the practice. But in communion, when I'm talking about in community, I'm talking about that. What are the things that you might do? How would you show up in community? What are the things you do as community, in community? And that might be that you host something, like a small group, like a spirit group. Maybe you're the host of a potluck we do. Maybe we go out and have dinner together and you act as the host. What does a host do? Host just makes everything's okay. You okay, Beverly? You got anything? Got everything you need?
Yeah.
You good to go? Okay. You're just acting as that being that makes sure this person is knowing that they're welcome here. Because I want to give to this person the recognition of their divine nature, but I can't give it to them, can I? I can only help create the environment for them to experience the self. And that's part of communion, is that in my awareness of my own divine nature, that I step up and interact with you in a way that helps facilitate, helps bring that forth. So the compassion is, the communion is really doing those things that are the practices. So maybe you do a prayer. I know most of you get horrified if I pointed at you and say, get up and give me a prayer. Verraine, would you give me a prayer? I've been picking on Verraine all day today. And she would probably tell me no.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. That is okay. Yes, yes. And if she wanted to, she could do a prayer on a Sunday morning, do a prayer before we do a potluck, do a prayer when we have a group, do a prayer when we go on an outing. Stop and pray with someone just because they look like they are in need of prayer. It's part of bringing that to our community. But also that prayer recognition is, how are you bringing the prayer into your own life? When do you stop and pray for yourself? So part of communion is bringing those practices back into your life. Maybe you leave a meditation on a Sunday morning in a group, whenever the opportunity arises. But also, where are you doing that in your own life? Where do you stop and meditating? And I harp on that, is what I feel like I do, because when I visit with you, many of you aren't doing prayer and meditation. And I know it's the foundations for unity, okay? And that's okay. If that's not what you're going to do, then that's not what you're going to do. But I know that you'll see the positive impact it has in your life when you do it. So that's our first discipline, is communion. Our second one is connection. Connection is friendships. It's that loving on each other that Laura started it off with a while ago. So it's how do we connect, and how do we do that in community? Because in community, we connect, well, maybe we have potlucks. Maybe we go to dinners together, right? Maybe we just sit and have coffee together. It's how are we developing and deepening those relationships that we have with one another. That is part of what happens in spiritual communities. And you want to take the steps that help bring that forward more so in the experience. You know, connection is also, I sometimes want to just throw this stuff when we have to deal with the technology, okay? Because y'all have seen it, whether you recognize it, it's not doing what it's supposed to do this morning, okay? So that technology is not quite unfolding quite like it would help us, at least help me, and it would probably help you in the experience. Connection might be that you step up and help a little with some of the technology. Maybe it's the make sure the sound's okay. Maybe it's to make sure the Zoom's okay. Maybe it's to get on with the people that are on Zoom and just chat in the chat box with them on Zoom to let them know that you're glad they're there. That's part of connection for us. And it's part of the things that in a community, if you want your community to have that connection, you need to look for those places that you enhance that. So I'm offering us a way here as I move through these next C's, or disciplines, that we as a community can be better at being a community and better serve us that are in this room, but better serve the people that just wander in here and wonder what's going on in Unity of Little Rock. That happened for me. I wandered in that door and sat in here in an experience that was way beyond my comfort zone, because Willard Fuller talked about things that I will tell you at lunch. I'm bribing you to go to lunch with me, okay? I'll tell you at lunch, he did things that I just thought was off the wall, okay? And it was way beyond my comfort level. But the people that I interacted with gave me a sense that it was okay. Their connection with me helped me be okay. And in that okay, I came back. Because if I hadn't felt okay, what was my likelihood of wanting to return to this community? It would have been that big, okay? So our next C is compassion. You're the light of the world. You want to take that light into the world, and you want to help people experience that compassion, that love that you have. In a community, compassion gets shown by, yes, spending a little time and visiting with people and having coffee with them, but also acknowledging and celebrating people. Dave isn't here today, the little guy, because it's his birthday, okay? Well, today would be a day that we celebrate his birthday. And he's probably off celebrating elsewhere with his family. But we want to celebrate birthdays. We want to celebrate anniversaries. I want to know that you got that new car that you've been saving for 4 years for. That's a celebration. You got the new job. You got the promotion. Whatever it might be. As a community, we want to know that about each other. And in community, how you might serve that is by being this month the point person that just ask around, find out what's happening, whose birthdays, whose anniversary, what's taking place this month, that I can share with others so that we can acknowledge you and in many ways acknowledge your use of truth principles, right? Because you and your consciousness helped bring some of those wonderful life honoring events forward for us. And that's part of our sense of compassion in a community. The next discipline is just that, community. So, community is serving in some ways more than just the people that come in this space, that come and be a part of this. It's looking at how we can be of service in the world, service to our community. So that's doing service projects. So in a community, it's what's happening outside of our walls, that there's a need that we can go and be a part of that. And I think the misconception sometimes is that we think that, well, we're a small community, we can't go fix this thing out there. Well, you know what? When you do this much, who you impact, you may do more than you ever realized in someone's life with just this small community. That we make a difference in people's world, So that's the sense of community for us. What are the 5 principles? What's the 5th principle? Unity principle.
Put it into action.
Put it into action. So in some ways, this community is about how do we as individuals align together to go out into the world and put what we talk about here in action. It's no longer contemplation. It's no longer prayer and meditation. It's the step beyond that as well. It's the action step, as Beverly said for us. And one more. Oh, challenge. Yeah. And all of us go, challenge? I don't want to be challenged. But challenge is about how do you keep going in your own study, in your own contemplation? How do you stretch yourself beyond where you're at? Because if I grilled, even Verraine, if I grilled her, okay? Sorry, I've been on her all morning. We were in our spirit group together, and I just picked on her left and right. I singled her or any of us out and really said, is there something that you'd like to be different in your life? There would be something that you would probably eventually be able to tell me about. If not, right off the bat, really clear, yes, I know what that thing is. Challenge is about how do we stretch ourselves so that we can move into and through this whatever perceived obstacle or change that we want in our life. So challenge isn't a bad word. Challenge is really about how we grow in the world. If we're too comfortable, we're too complacent, and we just keep doing the same thing, right? And the world doesn't change, our world doesn't change, because we're bringing nothing different into it. And challenge is about how we stress that. So in community, you know, that might be just inviting somebody that's a friend that you know is having their own issues to come visit this community, this group. Go join us for our potluck. Go have dinner with us. Whatever event it is that you're inviting somebody. Because sometimes that challenge is the discomfort that you feel. Because I know for many of us, we have lots of traditional Christian friends and we're worried about inviting them because what will they think? I'm a great example of that. I had all kinds of thoughts in there, but my world view was really a traditional Christian world view. That's what I knew the most of. But when I stepped into this community, and guess what? Somebody invited me. Right? When I stepped into this community, I got to see something different. And that different was something that resonated with me. So part of our challenge can be just what's a little uncomfortable for us. Maybe it's inviting someone to come and participate. Maybe it's sharing in a group or up here on a Sunday, something that you recognized, that you learned from Unity Truth Principles and how it impacted your life. That's not the 20-minute talk. That could be 60 seconds. That I saw this, I learned this, and then I saw myself put this into action, and this is what happened. And that could be pushing buttons, right, Verraine, of getting you up and making you speak in front of people. You're just going to get picked on all day today, Verraine. You're just into it. So our challenge as a community is recognizing, too, where do we where do we as a community step out there and interact with people that maybe we're a little uncomfortable with, just because we're not familiar with it. But the world needs you, and it needs this community. And if I could ever hand the world a gift, I would hand them the recognition of how much you matter, how much you bring value into this world, and how much a difference you can make when you're just a little bold about stepping that forward into the relationships and the situations that we have in the world. So I'm sharing those with you today because these are the things that if we take these forward in our lives, I believe that you'll find that you're going to open up deeper into your spiritual journey. But if we take it into our community, we're going to create more of a community that's more welcoming and more embracing and offers the pieces that people are looking for. There's a story. A man's lost in the desert, and he's immense thirst, just like I just had. And he's looking for water. And somewhere in the desert, he stumbles across just this shack. And he goes up to the shack, and there's one of those old well pumps, that you have to use the lever to pump it. But on it is a sign that says, use this water, and beside it is a jug of water. Use this water to prime the pump, and you will have all the water you need. And our man, though, is close to dying from thirst. So he looks at it, and he's uncertain, because he's never really used the pump before. So he's uncertain, well, if he puts water in there and tries to prime it, and it doesn't prime, he just threw away the water that he potentially had. But somewhere he has faith, and he decides, okay, I'm going to prime this pump. And when he primes it, he starts pumping. And guess what happens? Nothing, right? You ever primed one of those guys? You pump for a while, and nothing seems to happen with it, okay? And then the water started flowing. And he got to drink all he wanted to drink. He got to bathe in it. He got to fill up every container that he could find that he had with him so that he had ample water. And when it came time for him to leave, the bottom of that message also said, fill up the jug and leave it for the next traveler. I think that for us in unity, that so much of what we're doing is priming our own pump, okay? But that we're helping leave that jug of water for others so that they can prime, so that they can have that thirst quenched. Because for many of us in this room, life is pretty easy. But for many people, life isn't easy. And even for some of us in this room, today isn't that great day. But the more that we can offer that water, the more that we can help prime that pump, the more we make a difference in this world. And we do it by beginning with us, we do it by moving into our community, and then we do that by reaching further outside these figurative walls, because these will be gone in a few weeks. And we'll have a new home, and that home may actually change some to begin with. It may be temporary. We'll discuss that afterwards. For those of you that want a little update on some things, stay with me when we close today, and I'll share you some possibilities and potentialities that are unfolding for us for new homes. So with that, I'm going to invite, let's do what we do in unity. Let's do a little meditation. So as you're ready, I invite you if you want to, put your feet on the floor. Let your hands relax in your laps. And you can either close your eyes or just soften your gaze. Because we're the co-founder, Charles Fillmore, said, we're going to go to headquarters. We're going to connect with that divine. And we don't have to go outside of us. We're just going to drop into it. It's what dwells within us. So allow your breath to rise and fall and feel that experience of your chest expanding, your breath moving out over your lips and your nostrils. Being aware that just sitting in this room, listening to my voice, but with each breath, just like this Christ candle up here, each breath takes this wonderful oxygen into the light, the flame you are. And that inner flame grows brighter, brighter, larger. Its intensity magnifies. And as it grows, expands, see that light traveling down through your feet into the earth. And as it travels down, also see it traveling up and out and into the universe. You are fully connected to all that it is. There's one power and one presence in the universe. And you are breathing as that one power and one presence. And now see yourself. Envision for yourself what will help, what will enable you to grow, to expand. What will make the communion in your life deeper. What will bring more connection into your experiences. And what will challenge you to be more of the divine and sharing and moving forth into the world. Envision. What would this community look like? As more of those disciplines are explored and opened, what will it look like for Unity of Little Rock? How will it feel for Unity of Little Rock? final moments here together, as you inhale and bring your awareness back to your bodies sitting here on these seats, your feet on the floor, the rise and fall of your breath. What is it that you need? Give it a voice in your own mind. This is what I desire. And because I can see it, I can feel it, I can imagine it being differently, then it is yours. You're fully capable of all that is that you desire in your life. Just as you imagine for this community, that desire, that imagination is part of bringing it into the reality, present here, now. So as you're ready, open your eyes and know that you bring with you that full, burning intensity of that light of the Christ within you. And that all that you've envisioned, you're fully capable of. Because it's not separate from you. It's the truth of your being. And so it is. I'm going to just take us right to our offering and not do any music after that today. Because I want you to remember that part of being in community is that if you like what's transpiring here, then contribute to what's transpiring here. So every dollar you give, we put it to good use. And I'm excited that as we move out of this building, we will have money that doesn't just have to go to this building. We get to do other things with it. We get to do actual technical ministry, that we go out into the world and use the money that you give to make a difference. But right here now, today, the money you give creates this space where people can come, where you can come, where you can have a cup of coffee, where you can talk about whatever you want to talk about over coffee, over tea. You can have a connection with somebody. You can have someone share compassion with you. You can have someone remind you of what their practices are, how they commune with the divine. All those can take place because of your generosity. So thank you. Would someone like to share the basket? Because whether you're giving today,